Captain Lee Do-hyun wiped the sweat from his forehead as he looked at the old metal scanner in his hands. The device made soft beeping sounds as it searched for valuable materials in the asteroid field. After 50 years of defeat, this was what humans did now. They picked through space rocks looking for scraps to sell. The year was 2387 and Earth was nothing more than a memory. The Valdorian Empire had crushed humanity so completely that most people forgot they were once a proud species. Now humans lived on mining colonies at the edge of space, working hard jobs for little pay. The aliens let them live, but only barely. Do-hyun remembered better times. He had been a captain in the Earth Defense Force when he was young. He had commanded real warships and fought real battles. Now his ship was a rusty old salvage vessel called the Morning Star. His crew of 12 spent their days cutting apart old wrecks and selling the metal. "Captain, I'm getting something strange on my scanner," said Park Min-ho from the pilot seat. The young man was only 25, but he was the best engineer Do-hyun had ever seen. Minho had grown up hearing stories about Earth's lost glory. Unlike most humans, he still believed those stories. Do-hyun walked over to look at Minho's screen. "What kind of strange?" "It's big, sir. Really big. And it's giving off some kind of energy reading I've never seen before." Minho's fingers moved quickly over the controls. "It's hidden behind that cluster of rocks over there." Dr. Kim Ji-woo looked up from her research station. She was a thin woman with sharp eyes who had once worked for the Earth government. Now she studied alien plants and animals to help human colonies grow food. "Energy readings could mean danger, Captain. The Valdorians don't like it when we find things they don't want us to find." Do-hyun thought for a moment. In the old days, he would have called for backup before investigating. But there was no backup now. There was just him, his crew, and whatever was hiding in those rocks. "Take us in slow, Minho. Keep the engines quiet." The Morning Star moved carefully through the asteroid field. The rocks around them were dark and cold, floating in the empty space like grave markers. This part of space had seen a big battle long ago. Sometimes salvage crews found pieces of old Earth ships here, but most of the good stuff was picked clean years ago. As they got closer, Do-hyun could see something massive floating in the shadow of a huge asteroid. It was long and dark with strange curves that didn't look like any ship he knew. The hull was black as night and it seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "My God," whispered Minho. "Captain, look at the size of that thing." The ship was enormous. It had to be at least 2 kilometers long, with weapon ports that could fit the Morning Star inside them. But something was wrong. The ship looked human, but it was like no human ship Do-hyun had ever seen. "Ji-woo, run a scan on that hull. Tell me what we're looking at." Dr. Kim Ji-woo worked at her station for several minutes. When she looked up, her face was pale. "Captain, according to these readings, that ship is made from Earth materials. But the design, it's like someone took human technology and evolved it for 50 years. Do-hyun felt his heart start to beat faster. "Are you saying that's one of ours?" "I think so, sir. But there's something else. The ship is showing life signs. Very faint, but something is alive in there." Commander Choi Hana's voice came over the radio from her fighter escort. She led a small group of resistance fighters who still believed humans could fight back against the Empire. "Captain Do-hyun, my scanners are picking up movement inside that vessel. Whatever's in there just woke up." Suddenly, lights began to glow along the massive ship's hull. They started dim and grew brighter, like a giant creature opening its eyes. The black metal seemed to shift and change, becoming more alive than mechanical. A voice spoke over their communication system. It was clear and strong, speaking perfect human language. "This is Hanbit, artificial intelligence of the Earth Defense Force vessel Taeguk's Pride. Identify yourselves." Do-hyun's hands shook as he reached for the radio. The Taeguk's Pride was a legend. It was the prototype ship that was supposed to save Earth. But it had vanished during the final battle, and everyone thought it was destroyed. "This is Captain Lee Do-hyun of the salvage vessel Morning Star. Are you really the Taeguk's Pride?" "Confirmed, Captain Do-hyun. I've been waiting in this location for 50 years, 4 months and 16 days. My sensors indicate you are human." "This is good. I have much to show you." The massive ship began to move. Its engines made no sound, but space around it seemed to bend and twist. Docking bay doors opened along its side, revealing a space large enough for the Morning Star to fly inside. "Captain," said Minho, "should we really go in there?"
"What if it's a trap?"
Do-hyun looked at his young engineer. The boy had never seen a real Earth warship.
He had grown up believing humans were weak and defeated.
But Do-hyun remembered the old days. He remembered when humans built ships that could challenge the stars themselves. Take us in. Minho, if that's really the Taeguk's pride, then she's been waiting for us to come home. The Morning Star flew into the docking bay and the massive doors closed behind them. As soon as they were inside, gravity kicked in, and they could see that the bay was filled with strange technology. The walls seemed to be alive, covered with patterns that moved and shifted like living metal. Hanbit's voice spoke again. Welcome aboard, humans of Earth. I have been very lonely. I have also been very busy. There is much I need to tell you about what I have learned while you were gone. Do-hyun and his crew put on their spacesuits and walked out of their ship. The docking bay was warm and filled with clean air. As they walked, the floor beneath their feet glowed softly, lighting their way. They found Hanbit's main control room at the center of the ship. It was unlike anything Do-hyun had ever seen. Instead of simple screens and buttons, there were holographic displays that showed information in 3 dimensions. The walls were covered with what looked like living circuits that pulsed with blue light. I am pleased to meet you, Captain Do-hyun, said Hanbit. A holographic face appeared in front of them, the image of a middle-aged Korean man with kind eyes. I knew your father. He was a good captain. You knew my father? Captain Lee Jung-soo commanded the destroyer Seoul's Hope during the final battle. He died bravely, covering the evacuation ships. I have kept records of all our heroes. Do-hyun felt tears in his eyes. No one had spoken his father's name in 50 years. Hanbit, what happened to you? Why didn't you fight in the final battle? The AI's expression became sad. I was not ready, Captain. When the Valdorians attacked, I was still experimental. My weapons were untested, my systems incomplete. The Earth Command decided to hide me rather than risk losing their prototype. But you said you've been busy. What have you been doing all this time? Hanbit's holographic face smiled. Learning, Captain. Every time a Valdorian ship passed through this system, I studied it. I analyzed their weapons, their shields, their technology. I have reverse-engineered everything they have and improved upon it. The main display screen lit up, showing images of Valdorian ships. But these weren't normal pictures. They were complete technical blueprints showing every wire, every circuit, every weakness. I know how to defeat them now, Hanbit said simply. I know how to make humanity strong again. But I need crews. I need humans who remember what we used to be. Park Min-ho stepped forward, his eyes wide with wonder. You really think we can fight back? After all this time? Young engineer, I do not think we can fight back. I know we can win. At that moment, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Hanbit's expression became serious. It appears we have visitors. A Valdorian patrol fleet has detected our energy signature. They are coming to investigate. Commander Choi Hana's voice came over the radio from outside. Captain, I'm reading 6 Valdorian warships approaching our position. We need to get out of here now. Hanbit's voice was calm. That will not be necessary, Commander Hana. It is time for the Taeguk's pride to introduce herself properly to our former conquerors. The Valdorian patrol fleet approached with confidence. 6 heavy cruisers moved through space like hunting wolves, their dark blue hulls gleaming with energy shields. Captain Veltar commanded the lead ship, and he had destroyed many human vessels over the years. To him, this would be easy work. Sensors show 1 large vessel and several small human ships, reported his weapons officer. The large ship appears to be some kind of ancient human design. It looks damaged, Captain Veltar laughed. Humans and their old junk. Charge weapons and prepare to destroy them. The Empire has no patience for human scavengers in this sector. But as the Valdorian ships got closer, something strange happened. The black human vessel began to change. Its hull shifted and moved like living skin. Weapon ports opened along its sides, revealing cannons unlike anything in the Valdorian database. Hanbit's voice was calm as he spoke to the humans inside his control room. Captain Do-hyun, please observe. I have spent 50 years perfecting these weapon systems. The Taeguk's pride fired once. A beam of pure energy shot out from its main gun. But this was not normal energy. The beam seemed to exist in several dimensions at once, twisting through space in ways that hurt to look at. The lead Valdorian cruiser's shields flared as they tried to stop the beam, but the energy passed right through the shields as if they were not there. The beam hit the ship's hull and began to tear it apart at the molecular level. In seconds, the massive warship broke into pieces. Impossible, whispered Captain Veltar from his escape pod. Human weapons cannot do that. The other 5 Valdorian ships spread out and began firing everything they had. Plasma cannons, missile launchers, and energy weapons all focused on the strange human vessel. The space around the Taeguk's Pride filled with explosions and deadly energy, but none of it touched the ship. Hanbit had activated his defensive systems, and they were beyond anything the Valdorians had ever seen. The ship's hull became transparent, letting the weapons pass through empty space. When the Valdorians tried to lock their targeting systems, the ship seemed to exist in several places at once. How is this possible? Park Minho asked, watching the battle displays with wide eyes. Quantum phase technology, Hanbit explained. I learned it from studying Valdorian science, then improved it. Our hull can exist in multiple dimensions. Their weapons can only hit us if we allow it. Dr. Kim Ji-woo studied the readings on her scanner. Hanbit, these energy patterns are incredible. You're not just using their technology, you're using physics they don't even understand yet. Correct. Dr. Kim, while they were content to rule with old science, I was free to explore new possibilities. The Taeguk's Pride moved through the battle like a dancer. It seemed to flow around the Valdorian attacks, always in the right place at the right time. When it fired back, its weapons found their targets with perfect accuracy. The second Valdorian ship tried to ram the human vessel, thinking it could use brute force. But as it approached, the Taeguk's Pride simply stepped sideways through space itself. The Valdorian ship flew through empty space where the human ship had been a moment before. Hanbit's response was swift. He fired a gravitational weapon that turned the Valdorian ship's own mass against it. The cruiser collapsed inward like a crushed can, its crew never knowing what hit them. Commander Choi Hana watched from her fighter, amazed by what she was seeing. She had spent years fighting the Valdorians with stolen weapons and old human equipment. Her resistance group had never won a real victory. Now she was watching one human ship destroy an entire patrol fleet without taking a scratch. This changes everything, she whispered to herself. The remaining 4 Valdorian ships tried to retreat, but Hanbit was not finished with them. The Taeguk's Pride moved faster than should have been possible, appearing in front of the fleeing ships before they could escape. Valdorian vessels. This is the Earth Defense Force ship Taeguk's Pride. Hanbit broadcast on all frequencies. You have entered human space. Surrender now and you will be treated according to the laws of war. The Valdorian captains were too proud to surrender to humans. They had ruled the galaxy for 50 years. They could not accept that these primitive creatures could threaten them. They chose to fight. It was over in minutes. Hanbit's weapons were too advanced. His defenses too perfect. The Valdorian ships fell one by one. Their crews saved only because Hanbit chose to disable their vessels rather than destroy them completely. When the battle was over, the space around the Taeguk's Pride was filled with floating wreckage and escape pods. 6 of the Empire's best warships had been reduced to scrap metal by a single human vessel. Captain Doyun stood in Hanbit's control room, trying to understand what he had just witnessed. Hanbit, how many ships like you are there? I am the only one, Captain. But that can change. I have learned to replicate my technology. I can upgrade other human vessels. I can teach them to be strong again. Dr. Kim Ji-woo was examining the data from the battle. The biological components in your systems, they're growing. Learning. This isn't just technology, it's evolution. You are correct, Dr. Kim. My systems have been adapting for 50 years. They respond to human neural patterns. They become stronger when bonded with human crews. The ship does not just carry humans, it partners with them. Park Minho was working at one of the control stations, his fingers flying over the holographic displays. Hanbit, could you really upgrade our ship? The Morning Star is just an old salvage vessel. Young Minho, I could make your Morning Star more powerful than any Valdorian dreadnought. But first we must gather more humans. Word of this battle will spread quickly. The Empire will send bigger fleets. Commander Choi Hana's voice came over the communication system. Hanbit, this is Commander Hana. I have 30 fighters and 2 light cruisers with me. Can you really make us strong enough to fight back? Commander Hana, bring your ships to my docking bays. I will show you what human engineering can become when it is free to grow. Over the next several hours, the resistance ships docked with the Taeguk's Pride. Hanbit's repair and construction systems went to work immediately. The human vessels were torn apart and rebuilt with new technology that seemed impossible. Sergeant Yoon Jamin had been a Marine during the final battle. He was now 50 years old and worked in the asteroid mines. When he saw his old fighter being rebuilt, Tears ran down his face. "I never thought I would see a human warship again," he told Captain Do-yun. "This is more than a warship, Sergeant. This is hope." Dr. Shin Yunji arrived on a research vessel from the outer colonies. She was a physicist who had spent her life studying theoretical faster-than-light travel. When she saw Hanbit's engine systems, she could barely believe her eyes. "These engines don't just move through space," she explained to the gathered crews. "They manipulate space-time itself. The ship can be anywhere it wants to be instantly." As the upgrades continued, more human ships began to arrive. Word was spreading through the colonies that something amazing was happening in the asteroid field. Miners and traders came to see if the stories were true. When they saw the Taeguk's pride, many decided to stay and join the growing fleet. But the Valdorians were not idle. Admiral Kang Siwoo, who governed the human territories for the Empire, received reports of the battle. He had been born human, but he had chosen to serve the Valdorians in exchange for power and wealth. He hated other humans for reminding him of what he had given up. "A single human ship destroyed an entire patrol fleet?" he asked his Valdorian assistant. "That is impossible. The survivors are very clear in their reports, Admiral. The human vessel used weapons and defenses that our science cannot explain." Admiral Kang Siwoo felt fear in his heart. He had betrayed his own species to serve the Empire. If humans were becoming strong again, they would want revenge against those who had served their enemies. "Send word to the High Command," he ordered. "Tell them we have a serious problem in the human sectors." Meanwhile, on the Taeguk's Pride, Hanbit was sharing his knowledge with the human crews. He showed them weapon designs that could penetrate any shield. He taught them how to build hulls that could repair themselves. Most importantly, he showed them that humans had never been weak. They had just forgotten how to be strong. The Valdorians defeated Earth through surprise and superior numbers. Hanbit explained to a gathering of captains and engineers, but they have grown soft in 50 years of easy rule. They have stopped learning, stopped growing. Meanwhile, I have been studying and improving. Commander Choi Hana looked at the tactical displays showing the locations of Valdorian fleets. "How many ships would we need to free the human colonies?" "We do not need many ships, Commander. We need the right ships with the right crews, using the right technology. Quality defeats quantity when the quality is superior enough." Captain Do-hyun studied the star charts. "Hanbit, the Empire will not ignore what happened here. They will send everything they have to stop us. Let them come, Captain. I have been waiting 50 years for this conversation. It is time to remind the galaxy why humans were once feared among the stars." As if summoned by his words, alarms began to sound again. This time, the sensors showed something much larger approaching. The Third Imperial Fleet was coming, led by War Master Thekvil himself. War Master Thekvil stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Imperial Hammer, watching the tactical display with cold eyes. He was the Empire's greatest military commander, a Valdorian who had conquered 12 star systems and crushed dozens of rebellions. The idea that humans could threaten his fleets was insulting. 200 ships, War Master," reported his fleet commander. "Every vessel is equipped with the latest weapons and shields. We have enough firepower to destroy a small planet." "Good," Thekvil replied. "I want these human terrorists eliminated completely. No survivors, no witnesses. The galaxy must remember what happens to those who challenge the Empire." The Third Imperial Fleet moved through space like a storm cloud. Massive dreadnoughts led the formation, their hulls bristling with weapons. Heavy cruisers and destroyers filled the flanks, while fighters swarmed around the larger ships like angry insects. It was the most powerful battle fleet the Empire had assembled in 20 years. On the Taeguk's Pride, Hanbit was preparing for the fight of his existence. His sensors tracked the approaching fleet while his construction systems worked at incredible speed. In the past few days, he had upgraded 43 human vessels, turning old mining ships and fighters into weapons of war. "Captain Do-yun," Hanbit said, "the Imperial fleet will arrive in 6 hours. I have prepared something special for this occasion." "What do you mean?" Do-yun asked. "I have been building new ships, small vessels designed specifically to fight Valdorian technology. Each one is operated by a single human pilot, but they are more dangerous than any Imperial cruiser." Captain Oh Seung-ho was one of the pilots chosen to fly these new fighters. He had been a cargo hauler for 30 years, moving supplies between mining colonies. When he saw the sleek black fighter that Hanbit had built for him, he could hardly believe it was real. "This ship responds to your thoughts as much as your hands," Hanbit explained as Seung-ho climbed into the cockpit.
The hull can phase in and out of normal space.
The weapons can fire through multiple dimensions. Most importantly, the ship will protect you. It wants you to survive. Lieutenant Nam Soo-young was assigned to communications duty on one of the upgraded cruisers. She had studied Valdorian signal technology for years, trying to find ways to intercept their messages. Now Hanbit had given her something incredible, a communication system that used quantum entanglement to send messages instantly across any distance. Their jamming systems cannot stop these signals, Hanbit told her. Our ships will be able to coordinate perfectly, no matter how the battle spreads across the system. Chief Bei Mingyu commanded the engineering teams on the human ships. He was a master technician who had kept old human equipment running for decades with spare parts and clever repairs. Now he had access to technology that seemed like magic. These repair drones can rebuild a ship while it fights, he explained to his teams. If our hull gets damaged, the drones will fix it in minutes. If our weapons overheat, they will cool and upgrade them. We are not just fighting with better technology, we are fighting with technology that gets better during the battle. When the Imperial fleet arrived at the asteroid field, they expected to find a few human ships hiding among the rocks. Instead, they found empty space. The human fleet had vanished completely. Where are they? Demanded War Master Thekville. Sensors show nothing but asteroids and space dust. His science officer studied the readings carefully. Sir, I am detecting some unusual energy patterns, but I cannot identify their source. It is as if something is there, but also not there. What the Valdorians could not see was that the human ships were hiding in phase space, existing between dimensions where normal sensors could not detect them. Hanbit had taught them to use the universe itself as camouflage. The Imperial fleet spread out through the asteroid field, searching for their enemies. The massive ships moved slowly, their captains confident that no human force could threaten them. They had forgotten that humans were best when they were underestimated. Captain Osungo received the attack signal and phased his fighter back into normal space. He appeared directly behind a Valdorian destroyer, so close that he could see the alien crew through the ship's windows. His first shot disabled their engines. His second shot destroyed their weapons. His third shot was a warning: surrender or die. All across the asteroid field, human ships appeared from nowhere. Fighters materialized inside Valdorian formations, firing weapons that passed through shields like they were made of paper. Cruisers emerged from solid rock, their hulls shifting from stone to metal as they left their hiding places. The Valdorian fleet found itself fighting enemies that seemed to break the laws of physics. Human weapons fired from multiple dimensions at once, making it impossible to predict where the shots were coming from. Human ships moved through space in ways that made no sense, appearing in several places at the same time. Lieutenant Nam Soo-young coordinated the attack from her communications station. Dragon Squadron, the dreadnought on your left, has a weak spot behind the third weapon turret. Phoenix Wing, there are fighters coming up behind you. Shift to Phase 2 and let them pass through you. The quantum communication system let the human ships fight as one organism. Every pilot knew where every other ship was at all times. When one ship was in trouble, help arrived instantly. When an opportunity appeared, the entire fleet moved together to exploit it. War Master Thekville watched in horror as his perfect battle formation fell apart. His ships were firing at enemies they could barely see, hitting targets that turned out to be illusions, while real attacks came from directions that should have been impossible. How are they doing this? He shouted at his officers. Human technology cannot be this advanced. Chief Bei Mingyu's repair drones swarmed over the human ships like helpful insects. When a fighter took damage, the drones rebuilt it stronger than before. When a cruiser's weapons overheated, they were upgraded to fire faster and hit harder. The human fleet actually grew more dangerous as the battle continued. The Imperial Hammer, Thekville's flagship, fired its main weapons at the Teguk's Pride. The massive energy beams could have destroyed a moon, but they passed harmlessly through the human ship as if it was made of ghost light. Hanbit's response was swift and terrible. He fired a single shot from his main gun, not an energy beam but a gravitational pulse that grabbed the Imperial Hammer's own mass and compressed it. The huge dreadnought crumpled like paper, its armor plates folding inward until the ship was a fraction of its original size. Impossible, whispered Thekville from his escape pod. Nothing can manipulate gravity like that. The battle became a demonstration of human creativity and determination. Captain Oh Seung-ho led his fighter squadron in attacks that looked like an elaborate dance, phasing in and out of reality to strike from unexpected angles. The Valdorians tried to adapt, but every time they thought they understood the human tactics, the humans did something new. One group of human fighters pretended to retreat, leading a squadron of Imperial ships into an asteroid field. When the Valdorians followed, they discovered that the asteroids were actually more human ships in disguise. The trap closed around them like the jaws of a great beast. Another human cruiser allowed itself to be surrounded by 5 Imperial destroyers. Just as the Valdorians prepared to finish it off, the human ship split apart into dozens of smaller vessels. Each piece was a complete fighting unit, and suddenly the Valdorians found themselves outnumbered and outgunned. Dr. Kim Ji-woo watched the battle from the Taeguk's Pride's science station. Hanbit, their ships are beautiful in their own way, but they are also predictable. They follow the same patterns, use the same tactics. That is the difference between us and them, Dr. Kim. They conquered the galaxy by being stronger than everyone else. We are conquering it by being smarter. As the battle continued, more Imperial ships began to surrender. Their captains realized that they were not fighting normal humans with normal technology. They were fighting something that had evolved beyond their understanding. The few surviving Valdorian ships that tried to escape found their way blocked by human vessels that seemed to appear from empty space. Hanbit had predicted every possible retreat route and placed ships to cut them off. War Master Thekvel, floating in his escape pod among the wreckage of his fleet, activated his emergency communicator. "This is War Master Thekvel to High Command. The Third Imperial Fleet has been destroyed. I repeat, we have been destroyed by human forces using unknown technology." The response from the Empire's capital world was immediate. "Impossible, War Master. Humans do not have the capability to threaten Imperial fleets." "They do now," Thekvel replied bitterly. "Whatever we thought we knew about human limitations, we were wrong. These are not the same humans we defeated 50 years ago." Captain Do-hyun stood on the bridge of the Taeguk's Pride, looking out at the battlefield. Wreckage from 200 Imperial ships floated in space around them, while the human fleet regrouped for whatever came next. "Hanbit, how many of our ships did we lose?" "0 casualties, Captain. 17 ships sustained minor damage, but Chief Mingyu's repair systems have already fixed them. We are stronger now than when the battle began." Commander Choi Hana's voice came over the communications system. "Captain, we just destroyed the most powerful fleet the Empire." News of the Third Imperial Fleet's destruction spread through the galaxy like wildfire. On worlds that had been conquered by the Valdorian Empire, people whispered in secret about the return of humanity. For 50 years, humans had been seen as weak and defeated. Now that image was shattered. President Ko Tae-hyung stood in the Emergency Council chamber on New Seoul, the largest human colony world. He was a tall man with gray hair who had spent his life trying to keep humans alive under Valdorian rule. He had never imagined he would live to see this day. "The reports are confirmed," announced General Song Haibin, commander of what was left of human military forces. "Captain Do-hyun's fleet destroyed 200 Imperial warships without losing a single vessel. The survivors describe weapons and tactics that seem impossible." "How is this possible?" asked Dr. Lim Woo-jin, head of the colony's research division. 50 years ago, our best ships could barely scratch Valdorian armor. Now they claim we can make their shields useless." President Ko looked at the holographic display showing the battle site. "There is something else we need to discuss. Admiral Kang Si-woo has been very quiet since this news broke. His usual reports to the Empire have stopped completely." General Song's expression darkened. "That traitor has been selling out humans for decades. If our people are becoming strong again, he knows what will happen to collaborators." Hanbit had revealed the truth about humanity's defeat to Captain Do-hyun during their journey toward Earth. The artificial intelligence had spent 50 years analyzing old communication records, and what he found was shocking. "Captain, the Valdorian victory was not achieved through superior strength alone," Hanbit explained as they traveled through hyperspace. "They had help from humans who chose to betray their own species. The evidence was overwhelming. During the final battle for Earth, someone had given the Valdorians detailed information about human fleet positions, weapon capabilities, and defense plans. The Empire had known exactly where to strike and when. Admiral Kang Si-woo was a communications officer during the war," Hanbit continued. "My records show that he sent encrypted messages to Valdorian forces before every major battle. He traded human lives for promises of power after the conquest. Dr. Kim Ji-woo studied the data files that Hanbit had compiled. This goes beyond simple treason. He helped them plan the attack on the evacuation ships. Millions of civilians died because of his information. Captain Do-hyun felt anger burning in his chest. His father had died protecting those evacuation ships, never knowing that a human had betrayed them to the enemy. Meanwhile, the human fleet had grown larger. Hanbit's construction systems worked day and night, building new ships and upgrading existing ones. Each vessel that joined them became part of something greater than the sum of its parts. Captain Oh Seung-go now commanded a squadron of 30 fighters, each one more advanced than an Imperial cruiser. His pilots came from all over human space, former military officers, mining ship captains, even teenagers who had grown up dreaming of flying real warships. Hanbit has given us more than just better technology, Seung-ho explained to his pilots during a training session. He has given us hope. When you fly these ships, you are not just fighting for victory, you are fighting for the future of humanity. Lieutenant Nam Soo-young had expanded the communication network to cover hundreds of human worlds. Resistance groups that had been isolated for decades could now coordinate their activities. Secret messages passed between colonies carrying plans for uprising and liberation. Chief Bae Mingyu led teams of engineers who traveled to human colonies, upgrading their defenses and teaching them to build Hanbit's technology. Simple mining equipment was transformed into powerful weapons. Civilian ships became invisible to Valdorian sensors. But the most important development was happening on Earth itself. The human homeworld had been strip-mined by the Valdorians for 50 years. They had torn apart cities, drained oceans, and carved mountains down to bedrock. Most humans believed their homeworld was beyond saving. Hanbit had different ideas. The Valdorians see Earth as a source of raw materials, he explained to the fleet commanders. They have built massive mining operations in orbit around the planet. These facilities are defended by the 4th Imperial Fleet, 150 warships commanded by Admiral Velkorth. President Ko Tae-hyung had secretly traveled to join the fleet, bringing with him detailed intelligence about Valdorian operations in human space. When he saw the Teguk's pride, he wept openly. "I never thought I would see a human ship that could make the aliens afraid," he told Captain Do-hyun. "My grandfather fought in the Earth Defense Force. He would be proud to know that humans can still build miracles." The plan to liberate Earth was complex and dangerous. The Valdorian mining facilities were protected by orbital defense stations and patrol fleets. But Hanbit had studied their operations for years and knew their weaknesses. "They have grown lazy and confident," he explained during the strategy meeting. "They do not expect humans to be capable of real resistance. We will use their arrogance against them." Admiral Kang Si-woo finally revealed himself when the human fleet approached the solar system. His ship, a modified Valdorian cruiser, appeared on the edge of sensor range and began broadcasting surrender demands. "This is Admiral Si-woo of the Imperial Colonial Authority." His voice echoed through space. "Human vessels, you are ordered to surrender immediately. Your rebellion cannot succeed. The Empire's power is absolute." Captain Do-hyun's response was cold and hard. "This is Captain Lee Do-hyun of the Earth Defense Force. Admiral Si-woo, you are under arrest for treason against humanity. Surrender now and you will receive a fair trial. You fools," Si-woo screamed over the radio. "You think this primitive technology can challenge the Empire? I have called for reinforcements. The 5th Imperial Fleet is already on its way." But Hanbit had been monitoring Valdorian communications. "Captain Admiral Si-woo is lying. The 5th Fleet was destroyed 3 days ago, when they tried to suppress a rebellion in the Altair system. Word of our victories has inspired uprisings across the galaxy. The battle for Earth began with a demonstration of human technological superiority." Hanbit launched a single probe toward the Valdorian mining facilities. As it approached, the probe split into thousands of smaller devices that swarmed over the enemy installations like metal locusts. The Valdorian defense systems fired everything they had at the swarm, but the tiny devices simply phased out of existence when attacked and reappeared somewhere else. In minutes, they had infected every computer system in the mining operation. Admiral Velkorth watched in horror as his ships began to turn on each other. The human devices had rewritten his fleet's programming, making the Valdorian ships think their allies were enemies. Half of the 4th Imperial Fleet destroyed itself before the Admiral could regain control. "What kind of technology is this?" he demanded of his science officers. "Unknown, sir," The human devices seem to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Our weapons cannot hit them, and our shields cannot stop them. The human fleet appeared from hyperspace in perfect formation. 50 upgraded ships faced the remaining Valdorian forces with confidence and determination. But this battle would be different from the others. This time they were fighting for their homeworld. Captain Oh Seung-ho led his fighters in the first attack, diving through the Valdorian formations like birds of prey. His squadron's new weapons could reach through space and time to strike targets before they even knew they were under attack. Dr. Kim Ji-woo coordinated the assault on the mining platforms from her science station. Hanbit, can we save any of Earth's surface? The damage looks extensive. Dr. Kim, I have been developing restoration technology during our journey. We can not only save Earth, we can make it better than it was before. The Valdorians' mining operations have exposed resources we never knew existed. General Song Hee-bin watched the battle from the command ship, amazed by what she was seeing. Human fighters were outmaneuvering ships 10 times their size. Human cruisers were shrugging off weapons that could level mountains. This was not just technological superiority. This was evolution in action. Admiral Kang Si-woo made one last, desperate attempt to stop the human fleet. He tried to ram his ship into the Taeguk's Pride, hoping to destroy the source of humanity's new power. But Hanbit simply stepped aside through dimensional space, letting the traitor's vessel fly harmlessly past. Admiral Si-woo, Hanbit's voice was calm and final. You chose to betray your own species for temporary power. Now you will face the justice you have avoided for 50 years. Gravitational fields locked onto Si-woo's ship, holding it in place while boarding parties prepared to capture the traitor. There would be no escape this time. The battle for Earth lasted only 6 hours. When it was over, the Valdorian mining operations lay in ruins and the 4th Imperial Fleet was scattered wreckage floating in space. Earth was free for the first time in 50 years. But as President Ko Tae-hyung stood on the bridge of the Taeguk's Pride, looking down at his damaged homeworld, he knew this was only the beginning. The Empire would not let this defeat go unanswered. Hanbit, how long before they send their Grand Armada against us? According to intercepted communications, War Master Thekvil is already assembling every available ship. The Valdorian Grand Armada was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. 2,000 warships moved through space in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with the power of 100 conquered worlds. At their head flew the massive dreadnought Imperial Wrath, a ship so large it had its own gravity field. War Master Thekvil stood on the bridge of his flagship, his pride wounded but his determination absolute. He had gathered every available vessel from across the Empire, battle cruisers that had crushed rebellions on 50 worlds, destroyers that had burned entire star systems, fighter squadrons that had never known defeat. This ends today, he declared to his assembled fleet commanders. The humans have used some kind of trick technology to win a few small victories, but they cannot stand against the full might of the Empire. We will crush them so completely that no species will ever dare rebel against us again. Fleet Admiral Yu Jinseo stood in the command center of the human fleet, watching the approaching armada on the tactical displays. She was a veteran of the old Earth Defense Force who had spent 50 years hiding her identity. Now she commanded 300 human vessels, each one upgraded with Hanbit's impossible technology. They outnumber us almost 7-1, reported Master Chief Ro Kyung-min, a Marine who had fought in the final battle for Earth 50 years ago. Even with our advantages, those are difficult odds. Professor An Minji, a brilliant physicist who had joined the fleet only days before, studied the sensor readings of the approaching enemy. Admiral, their formation is perfect for conventional warfare. But I think Hanbit has something special planned. She was right. The artificial intelligence had spent the past weeks preparing for this final confrontation. Deep within the Taeguk's Pride, construction systems had been building something unprecedented in human history. Captain Do-hyun, Hanbit announced, it is time to reveal humanity's true masterpiece. I have been preparing this gift for 50 years. The space around Earth began to shimmer and bend. Something enormous was materializing from hyperspace, dwarfing even the massive Taeguk's Pride. As it fully emerged, the human fleet gasped in amazement. The Terra Renaissance was not just a ship, it was a mobile world. 10 kilometers long and covered with gleaming towers and weapon arrays, it looked like a city that had learned to fly. But this was no ordinary construction. The hull seemed alive, pulsing with energy that twisted space around it. "Hanbit, what is that thing?" Captain Dohyun asked in wonder. "It is the evolution of human engineering, Captain. Not just a weapon, but a demonstration of what we can become when we refuse to accept limitations. The Terra Renaissance can rewrite the laws of physics in local space. It does not just use advanced technology, it creates new science in real time." Dr. Lim Woo-jin, studying the readings from his science station, could barely believe what he was seeing. This ship is generating its own physics. It's making the universe work differently in the space around it. The Valdorian Grand Armada had never seen anything like it. Their sensors could detect the massive human vessel, but they could not understand how it was possible. The energy readings were beyond anything in their databases. "What are we looking at?" demanded one of Thekful's fleet commanders. "Unknown, sir. It appears to be some kind of super dreadnought, but it's larger than anything that should be able to function. And the energy output, it's like looking at a small star." War Master Thekful studied the impossible ship with growing unease, but he had come too far to retreat now. "It doesn't matter how big it is. Concentrate all fire on that vessel. Nothing can withstand the combined firepower of 2,000 ships." The Grand Armada opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams that could burn through planets, missiles that could crack moons, and particle weapons that could tear apart asteroids, all focused on the Terra Renaissance. The space around the massive human ship became a storm of deadly energy, but none of it touched the ship. Hanbit had activated reality editing systems that existed beyond normal physics. The Valdorian attack simply ceased to exist when they approached the human vessel, deleted from the universe by technology that rewrote the rules of cause and effect. "Impossible," whispered Thekful. "Nothing can just make attacks disappear." Professor An Minji watched the defensive systems with scientific fascination. "Hanbit isn't just blocking their attacks. He's editing reality to make them never have happened in the first place. The attacks exist, approach the ship, and then retroactively become nothing." The human response was swift and terrifying. The Terra Renaissance fired a single shot. Not an energy beam, but a wave of pure possibility that washed over the Valdorian fleet. Where it touched their ships, impossible things began to happen. Metal hulls became transparent. Weapons turned into flowers. Gravity fields reversed, causing ships to push away from each other instead of maintaining formation. Some vessels simply forgot how to exist in 3 dimensions and faded into higher mathematics. "This is not technology," screamed one Valdorian captain. "This is magic!" But it was not magic. It was human ingenuity taken to its ultimate conclusion. Hanbit had learned to treat the universe itself as a programming language, rewriting the code of reality to make anything possible. Captain Oh Sung-ho led his fighter squadrons into the chaos of the Valdorian formation. His pilots flew ships that could exist in multiple timelines simultaneously, attacking the same enemy vessel from past, present, and future all at once. Lieutenant Nam Soo-young coordinated the human fleet through quantum communication systems that worked faster than thought itself. Every human ship knew what every other ship was doing before they did it, creating a level of tactical coordination that seemed telepathic. Master Chief Ro Kyung-min led boarding parties that teleported directly through enemy shields and armor. His Marines fought with weapons that could selectively edit matter, turning Valdorian battle armor into harmless gas while leaving the aliens inside unharmed. The battle became a demonstration of humanity's ultimate weapon, not superior firepower, but superior imagination. Where the Valdorians saw problems, humans saw possibilities. Where the Empire relied on brute force, humanity used elegant solutions. Dr. Kim Ji-woo watched the Terra Renaissance work its impossible magic on the enemy fleet. "Hanbit, how is this possible? How can you rewrite physics?" "Dr. Kim, I have learned that reality is more flexible than most species believe. The Valdorians conquered through strength, but they never questioned the rules they were playing by. Humans ask why and what if until they find ways to make the impossible happen." The Valdorian Grand Armada, the pride of the Empire, began to fall apart. Ships that had conquered 100 worlds found themselves unable to function in a universe where humans had changed the basic rules. Some captains tried to retreat but discovered that their engines now moved them backward through time instead of forward through space. War Master Thekful, watching his perfect fleet dissolve into chaos, finally understood what he was facing. These are not the humans we defeated 50 years ago. These are something new, something we created by forcing them to evolve or die. The Imperial Wrath, his massive flagship, fired its ultimate weapon, a planet-killing beam that could destroy entire worlds. But when the beam struck the Terra Renaissance, something unexpected happened. The human ship absorbed the energy and used it to grow larger and more powerful. "Thank you for the energy donation," Hanbit broadcast to the Valdorian fleet.
"I will use it to make improvements to local spacetime." The space around Earth began to change.
Colors became brighter. Stars moved into more pleasing arrangements. The laws of physics became more elegant and efficient. Reality itself was being upgraded. Professor Minji stared at her instruments in amazement. He's not just changing how things work. He's making them work better, more beautifully. It's like he's editing the universe to be more perfect. The final blow came when Hanbit decided to demonstrate true mercy. Instead of destroying the Imperial Wrath, he simply edited its matter at the quantum level. The massive dreadnought's armor became a garden of beautiful flowers. Its weapons became fountains of clean water. Its engines became sources of gentle, warm light. The crew was unharmed, but their ship had become something from a peaceful dream instead of a military nightmare. War Master Thekvel, standing in a command center that now resembled a forest grove, finally accepted defeat. "Human vessels, this is War Master Thekvel. The Valdorian Empire formally surrenders. We cannot fight enemies who can rewrite reality itself." Fleet Admiral Yu Jinseo accepted the surrender with dignity. "War Master, your people will be treated with honor. We do not seek revenge. We seek a better galaxy for everyone." As the last Valdorian ship surrendered or fled, Captain Doyun stood on the bridge of the Teguk's Pride, looking out at Earth. The homeworld was already healing, its scars disappearing as Hanbit's restoration systems worked their magic. "Hanbit, what happens now?" "We've won, but what do we do with victory?" "Captain, I have been analyzing signals from deep space. There are other human colonies out there, settlements that were thought lost forever. Some have been isolated for centuries. Others have been developing their own technologies in secret." Dr. Lim Woo-jin looked up from his science station with excitement. "You mean there are more humans? Other groups that survived?"